podcast where we help you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. On today's episode, we have Jon Hubbard, shareholder and consultant at Boomer. Jon is talking about revenue replacement and client filtering. He will be discussing a simple 6-step process to help you replace non-fit revenue with the right fit revenue for your firm. Take it away, Jon.
I work with a lot of firms that are either talking about letting go of some non-fit clients and or actually acquiring more right fit clients. But often they talk about those in kind of silos, kind of different meetings, different types of conversations. And really what I want to talk with you, today about is the compelling perspective of revenue replacement. How do we replace non-fit revenue or revenue in our firm that is not part of our long-term future? How do we start to think about replacing that revenue with more right fit revenue that we want to be a part of our business for the long term? So I'm going to give you a 6-step process to do that. I can talk about this all day in a workshop format, but we only have a few minutes here, so I'll do my best to keep it brief and concise so you can get the overview. All right. So here are the 6 steps we are going to cover. Step 1, identifying your target client or clients. Step 2, creating 3 core packages of services and pricing those, appropriately. Step 3, developing a business development process to support that. Step 4, messaging your offering in a compelling way. Step 5, creating a marketing strategy to attract leads. And then step 6 is managing the client intake process. Let's take a few minutes and break each of those steps down a little bit. So let's start with step 1, identifying your target clients, right? If left alone, we could end up creating a spreadsheet with rows and columns and a lot of quantitative information. But really what we want to start to get our mind around and some consensus around within the firm or your niche area is, who are the types of clients we want more of? What are their best characteristics? What are the most challenging characteristics? How much revenue do they generate for the firm on average? What are 3 common services this client would have? Or what are 3 common services this client could grow into? Oftentimes when firms think through their target client or clients, they do end up talking about certain industries, right? Or certain, niches that seem to do well with the firm. But really, it starts with identifying your target client. If you try and be all things to all clients, you will continue to have some of the issues you may have today. All right, so once you have your target client defined, we need to create what we call 3 core packages for that target client. So imagine having that target client defined. Okay, we have a good understanding of them. All right, what are 3 core packages of services that we could offer them? Sometimes this is called a small, medium, large, or a bronze, silver, gold, or gold, silver, platinum, things of that sort. And a lot of firms, when they first hear this, they think this is impossible and they can't do it. But I promise you, you can. So if you were sitting down in front of your target client and they ask you the question, well, how do you typically work with organizations like ours? You want to be able to answer that question and, honestly, proactively provide that information in a way that is easy to digest, in a way that is easy, to articulate, but also in a way that positions your firm a bit more holistically, right? Most firms know they have a lot of current clients that could be doing more with them if the client knew the types of services the firm could be offering. So let's start from the beginning, right, with these client relationships with with positioning the firm a bit more holistically. So we say, all right, what are the 3 core packages? All right. And what are the starting at pricing with each of those? Starting at pricing with each of those. So I'm going to keep it simple and use small, medium, large. Right. If we had a small, medium, large offering for your target client, you could say, hey, the small offering or the smallest level in which we could work with you, that starts around 3,000 a month. Right. The medium level is, around 5,000 a month. And then, the large, we see, some of our clients want kind of the full service, offerings we have, and that's 8,000 a month. Right. Now you're giving those starting at pricing to be a bit more general, not to lock down the specific price right then and there, but having these 3 core packages being created and you knowing them and being able to talk about them with prospects and clients really turns a conversation from a binary one, which is, do you want to work with us or do you not want to work with us? Or do you want to continue doing what you're doing or do you not want to do what you're currently doing with us? To more of a multiple choice, right? Hey, there's multiple paths to success here in our relationship. Which one makes the most sense to you? Okay, and let's have a conversation around that. So step 2 is creating 3 core packages and defining that starting at pricing for each. All right, step 3, develop a business development process to support, right? Most firms are really good, or at least know they really need to define a process for maybe their workflow or tax process or business tax or audit process. And that's all well and good, but we should really have that same approach to our business development process. All right. The better we define our business development process, the better we're going to be able to manage that process, lead that process, train to that process. So when firms ask to bring me in to do some business development training, I always recommend, well, let's define the process, your firm's business development process or your niche's business development process. And let's define that so then we can train to it. Okay. And so something I also say around step 3 of developing that business development process is you owe it to your clients to be good at this. You owe it to your clients. You owe it to your prospects to really have a well-defined business development process. They're looking to you for leadership. They're looking to you for expertise. But if you're unable to take them through a business development process that meets their needs and maximizes the value for them, then you're doing them a disservice. So that might be a new way to think about business development in your firm. So with step 3 being develop a business development process to support, let's move to step 4, messaging your offering in a compelling way. All right. Too often, how we talk about our services, we almost talk about our services as if we're talking to another CPA or someone that has the same level of knowledge we have as it pertains to our services offering. And I often see that when I go to firms' websites, I can tell it was written by a CPA. I can tell it was written for another CPA. When we write our content, I can tell it's not for your customer or for your client or for your prospect. So how do we message our services in a way that are interesting to the client? Now, we use a process here, and I'm certified in the process called StoryBrand. And so the process we take firms through is actually one to develop a brand script for your firm and or develop a brand script for certain services. Okay. But there is a methodology to messaging your services correctly. All right. And how do we message those services in a way that are compelling to prospects? So that's step 4. Step 5 is, all right, now that we have that messaging in place, it is all about what is our marketing strategy to attract those leads. If you think about the marketing strategy to get people into the funnel, to get them passed over or into the business development process, the sales conversation, well, it's really imperative we have a strong marketing strategy, right? And this includes things like not only getting your messaging right that we just discussed, but updating your website. It's not getting a new fancy expensive website as it is updating it in a way that uses the right words and messages the website correctly. It's having email, campaigns and having messaging and email be correct. So if 10 people send an email, we're talking about the same thing. We're using the same language. We're not all communicating differently about our services. And there are a handful of other things that go into a really strong marketing strategy. But again, step 5 is developing that marketing strategy to attract those leads. And then step 6 is managing the client intake process. Let's say, for example, we do steps 1 through 5 extremely well. Steps 1 through 5 that I just laid out for you. We do them extremely well, but we don't do step 6 well. We don't manage the client intake process. Then what happens is we put all this time and energy into steps 1 through 5. Maybe we have a meeting of minds to really go through steps 1 through 5 and get all that locked in. Okay. And then 24 hours later, you receive an email that we've accepted a new client that meets none of the target client criteria, that meets none of the core packages, that didn't follow the business development process. All of a sudden we're thinking, well, why did we do all this work if we're not going to manage the client intake process? And sometimes we call this managing the front door. Okay. Who are the types of clients we're going to let in moving forward? So this helps you prevent taking on non-fit clients. This step in the process can really help make sure that services are scoped and priced correctly. It really helps tee up additional cross-selling opportunities and, of course, managing capacity, right? Most clients that bring me in to help them evolve their business model, kind of what we're talking about here, that revenue replacement strategy, they don't say, John, we're bringing you in because we have too many right fit clients. They bring me in and say, hey, we have too many clients that are not part of our long-term future. They were a great part of our past. They're not really part of our future. And we're having capacity constraints largely due to those non-fit clients. And so managing the front door, managing the client intake process really helps you manage capacity. So just to recap, and then we can close out this episode of the podcast, is think about revenue replacement. Think about developing a revenue replacement strategy in your firm with these 6 steps. Step 1, identifying your target client. Step 2, creating 3 core packages of services and then establishing starting at pricing for each. Step 3, develop a business development process to support. Step 4, messaging your offering in a compelling way. Step 5, creating a marketing strategy to attract leads. And step 6, manage the client intake process. Manage that front door. I'm Jon Hubbard. I hope you found this content helpful. Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast.
Thanks so much, Jon. Listeners, if you've enjoyed Jon's topic, look out for new episodes every Tuesday morning. We like to rotate topics and themes, but a common theme among all the episodes is that we believe they are critical to your firm's growth and success. So please subscribe, and thanks for listening.